here's a picture from a typical retail store in the US, and very exciting, but a little bit scary and intimidating when you look at it. It's just a bunch of boxes, and if you're Microsoft and you have your own branding, that's nice, but if you're a startup, you'd be lucky if you're in here at all. So the idea that our business started with is that, thank you, is that retail, as it looks right now, because it doesn't look that good, it's not really a big surprise that a lot of retail stores are actually closing. So to give you some idea for the rest of this talk, which is going to be about how to succeed in retail despite those challenges, I'll show you a little bit about what we do in our business. Here is one of our stores. This is the one in Seattle, and this is kind of what it looks like from the outside. We have now 7 stores. We started about a year ago, and so we're a VC-backed startup from Silicon Valley. And on the inside of the store, it looks like this, where everything in the store works, and actually all companies are in charge of their own displays. They even control their own price. So it's almost like you have your own Apple store, right?
Who tends all that?
I'm sorry?
Who tends all that?
We do.
That's expensive.
That's our job. Yeah, that's our job. I wouldn't say it's cheap, but it turns out if you take out a lot of bureaucracy, it's pretty doable. Yeah. So if you Uberize retail, which is kind of what we're doing, and creating this space, it's a bit like if everyone had their own Apple store, right? Okay. That's what we do, and people control their own experience in there. And so we've run some very interesting kinds of things where we've been able to help companies succeed and have various case studies of how companies didn't succeed in other situations, which I'll tell you about now. So the way, you've probably heard of this idea of the fog of war, right? You ever heard of fog of war before?
The art of war.
You heard of art of war? Okay.
Yeah.
There's also fog. So when you're in war, you're not really sure what's happening around the corner. Like what's happening around the corner, no one actually knows. Is there an enemy or not? Until you actually go around the corner. So in retail, it's a bit like this, where there's this fog where you don't really know what's going on around the corner. There's things you know, and there's things like the cash in the bank. You know how much cash you have in the bank, and there's things you don't know, like you don't know how many sales you'll make this year. And then there's things that you don't know, and you can't even point to what these things are because you don't know them, right? Does that make sense? So now this is the kind of thing we're trying to elucidate in this fog of retail. Where you're kind of this warrior trying to fight through as an entrepreneur, trying to succeed, and nothing's necessarily going your way. So I'm going to cover a few of the things of what companies have tried in retail and the challenges they've had. So here's a company I'm going to talk about we have in beta called Hardware. It's this heads-up display for your car where you put your phone in it and you can see the driving direction. It's pretty cool. And they did $500,000 on Kickstarter, which is pretty nice, I think, pretty respectable. And they were selling for $40 on Kickstarter. Yeah, they did well. And then they started selling in our stores in beta, and they're selling for $80. And they're like, yeah, I mean, I don't know what the right price is, right? Anyone, how many people here have hardware companies? Just raise your hand. Yeah, a few of you. Anyone who's trying to figure out the pricing, you just don't really know where do you begin with pricing. So here's, they started off at $80, but the thing was their sales weren't that great. So because of the way our store is, we tried other things, like what if you change how it's presented or anything like that, and that wasn't really working. And what they eventually did was they changed their price by 25% down to $60. So it's still more than the Kickstarter, but their sales went up by 7x. So this was pretty interesting for them, where they're like, $80 is too much, but $60 seems pretty good. And they reduced the price again, and the sales didn't change. Right? So this is just one thing or something they didn't know about being in retail. Here's another product we had in beta called NeoPen. It's this smart pen. I'm not sure. How visible is this for people seeing? Am I just like, is it blurred?
Faster,
It's good, all right. I'm not like a Ferrari, I'm kind of like a turtle. This is a smart pen, and we had a display. It was very elegant. It looked like this. And we thought that looks really cool, and probably it's going to sell really well like this, where it just laid out on top of this notepad. And we found out, weirdly, we changed the display, so I think it's less elegant, but we had the notepad, you can kind of see here, there's drawings in it. If there's drawings in the notepad, then that actually increased the sales by about 50%, which is like something we didn't really know. So the way I think about retail is that it's just like you design your product, where you're like, okay, how should we think about the design of this? You have to think about the design of your retail experience, where you don't really know what the right answer is. You try lots of different things, and some of them work, and most of them won't. We just have to keep trying them. Here's a funny one. So anyone heard of a company called Nest?
Yep.
Yeah, they're acquired by this small company called Google. Yeah. Okay. All right. So here's their second generation product, the Nest. You guys have seen this before. And when you look at this, try to make a mental picture, because I'm going to ask you a quiz afterwards. All right. This is the second generation, and we know about this because most of our team came from Nest.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
So we had the challenge of trying to merchandise Nest in the stores, and that's why we started this business, because it's so difficult. All right, so based on this picture, so Nest, they were getting lots of returns for Nest in stores, and they couldn't really figure out why, so they did some research, and they found out people said it wasn't working, it was broken. And they're like, that's weird, because when we tested, it works. And then they followed a bit more, and they found out, spending a lot more money, a few more months, that people thought it was cracked. Can anyone see why someone might think it's cracked?
It's a line on the bottom.
Yeah, there's a line. So there's an IR sensor at the bottom, and then there's glass at the top. So people were like, "Is that hilarious?" So they thought they had this really sleek design. It's like perfectly straight line across here. And this is their second generation product. This is a company with lots of money, and they still effed up. So yeah, that's too bad. So you can see in the third generation product, they've remedied that situation where no one thinks it's cracked. What they did. Okay, now let's put yourselves in the shoes of Nest. Anyone have any ideas about how they might deal with? You've got all this inventory that people think is cracked. What would you do? Sorry, say that again?
Oh, I just have a box that say it's not cracked.
Put duct tape on it and sell it in seconds.
Or you emphasize it in the renderings on the package. You make it very clear on the package that it is supposed to be there.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly. Yeah. So they actually put a sticker on top of the IR sensor. The IR sensor removed it was like a safety sticker for the IR sensor.
Right.
It wasn't really a safety sticker. So that's what they did for that situation.
I feel like when you sell a retail product, you have to imagine a caveman that's using this.
That's what's going on. So anyone going into retail, this is the situation you need to think about.
Because it's like your aunt is using it, Like somebody who doesn't know how to use the internet.
Give it to your aunt's grandmother.
Right.
And whatever doesn't work, it's going to not work in retail as well. So something that we do now is we keep track of all feedback of why people return it exactly, and give that back to the manufacturers, because it's so frustrating for a lot of companies. Okay, here's a product. I'm not sure if you've seen this one before. This is called the Karma drone from GoPro. Somehow, naming something Karma, I don't know. It feels like that's just a bad idea. They're just asking for it. And then the headline for this was GoPro relaunching its Karma drone after embarrassing recall, after drones would fall from the sky. That sounds terrifying, right?
Right.
So, I mean, if you're in the drone business, drones are a challenge because of this. And not like every drone was falling from the sky, but a few were. Because they launched so broadly initially, this was a big challenge. So some people I know, guys at Brink, they say, when you launch your product, first launch to Singapore or Hong Kong. Wait 6 weeks. Tell them it's because of proximity. Tell them your backers or whoever it's because of proximity.
Right.
After 6 weeks, you'll find out all kinds of firmware problems you can't do over your updates for. You'll fix those when you ship. So that's the strategy for dealing with these kind of things. Okay, so that was fun, right? So there's a few other things I want to dig into in retail, just to kind of set the tone of what's going on. because I like numbers. I'm not sure about anyone else here if they like numbers, but I think it's interesting. And broad frameworks to understand how the market works. So in terms of thinking about where customers shop and why they shop, you want to know, like, why do people are preferring less going to stores that look like that big box store I showed originally? Why do people prefer that less? Why do people prefer maybe Amazon? So there's 4 things when we built our store, what we thought about was important is these are, people think about price, they think about assortment, they think about convenience, they think about experience. And usually it's in that order, but not always. So it's pace. You want to keep track of this pace. P-A-C-E. So price, Amazon obviously has the best assortment. If you go to like a high-end music store, they'll have the best assortment of speakers. If you want convenience, I think 7-Eleven is the best. Every single street corner has a 7-Eleven, right? And experience, the best experience store so far is a Ben Apple store. And so it's been shifting more towards experience. Right? And so when you think about your product and where you want to launch, if you have hot dogs, let's say, and you want to put them on Amazon, when they arrive 2 days later, it's too late. Someone's, they're already famished. You want hot dogs today, you order them on Amazon, 2 days later, it's way too late. You need to have it in 7-Eleven, right? So you think about what your product is and which channels you want it to be in. So that's how people think about where they shop, right? How you can think about your product. Now, I want to ask you, it's a short quiz now. What % of retail sales do you think happen online in the US? 10%. 10%. Any other guesses? 8%. Sorry? 8%. 8%. Wow, okay. You guys are actually on the money. Most people guess like 50% happen online. No, around 9% happen online. Yep.
Do you know how that's measured though? Is that per dollar or is that?
Not per dollar, by dollars, yeah.
Like by dollar?
$5, yeah.
Does that include groceries?
It includes groceries.
Okay.
The groceries make up a lot of that. Yep.
So 50% of electronics might be correct.
50% is still a bit high.
Okay.
Honestly. Yeah, I think more like 20, 23. But you're right. Another interesting thing is...
That's still big. It's like blowing away everything after Black Friday is that 10% that goes to Amazon.
Yeah.
So, because the retailers got this big fixed thing, and when they go down a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of Amazon, any guesses to what % of online sales happened on Amazon Q4 last year?
I have no idea. I'd say 10%.
10%? Okay, 10%. 10% seems a lucky guess first time. Anyone else? Take it crazy wood? All right, so I'll give you the answer now. It was 38%. 38% of online sales happened on Amazon. The second highest was Best Buy.
eBay's not in there?
Sorry?
eBay's not on the list? What?
Oh, even way down.
Yeah. So especially in the holidays. It's not like a holiday thing. It's like,
That's
I'm going to get you a used item.
You can buy a lot of new stuff on eBay.
You can buy used stuff as well, yeah.
They feel like most eBay people supply, like they ship it faster than Amazon. You get better service.
Yeah. So it's shocking. So when you think about where you want to start selling, of course, in terms of assortment, Best Buy has great assortment in consumer electronics, but in terms of total sales, Amazon is pretty amazing. And actually, so it's kind of going on. One of our partners did a study recently of their customers and said, so where did you see our product in the last 3 months? And by far the highest was they saw it in a retail store. So where retail stores are really acting as like marketing, there's all these other things in there, like saw a friend, saw it on TV, saw a billboard, things like that. But the most important was they saw it in retail stores, which is kind of interesting.
So legend has it that people are opening retail stores so that people will buy it online.
Ooh.
Like brands and stuff, like clothes and stuff.
Yeah, like the nose.
They're putting the speakers or the clothes like in an expensive area of town, so that then people buy it online and they know that it's expensive.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So this I think so for example, for a product that costs $100 on Amazon, the same product costs $106 on eBay, $119 in Walmart, around that in Best Buy. So what happens is people, they see these specialty retailers
Right.
who are making huge margins, but really it's just marketing.
Yeah.
right? They're not expecting to actually make any money. If you're in Apple stores, I was talking to someone earlier today, and they said it was Bake Block. Anyone heard of Bake Block before?
Yes.
Yeah. So they're like, yeah, we're gonna go into Apple, but like it's break even, you know.
Right.
We're not making any money. It's all marketing. Yeah. So people they see it at these like expensive stores. They buy it online, and so actually one of our partners, the day they launched in Best Buy, they doubled. There was a month they launched in Best Buy. They doubled their Amazon sales. So Best Buy did free marketing for Amazon. You know, someone goes into Best Buy, they're like, that looks cool, but how much does it cost on Amazon? That's the same price. Everyone just check out Amazon anyway, or whatever, right? So why not?
So that supports the idea of opening a store only for marketing.
Wow, that's a really good idea.
Yeah, well, I think people are doing it already.
Oh yeah?
I think so. I
Yeah.
think expensive neighborhoods, like expensive brands, are already opening fake stores.
Oh, fake stores.
Well, in a store you can buy stuff, but it's only the real reason they open stores for marketing.
Mhm.
So that people in that neighborhood will know to buy it.
Do you know anybody like that?
You're jumping to the conclusion already.
I think it's already happening.
Well, it's happening in China. The Shenzhen, they already opened a Heiker Dian, you know, they've been running like that for nearly 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
So actually, what we do for beta is we open our store for marketing. It is marketing.
Okay.
Yep. Again, so I can show you some more pictures of what the store looks like and how it works. So everything in the store works.
Right.
What we do is when we sell the products in the store, 100% of revenue goes to bakers. We don't actually make a cut at all. So it's a pretty different model. And what we do is we rent out space in the store. We said, like, what's the best experience if we're looking at pace, and what's the best experience? It's Apple stores. How can every company have their own Apple store? Well, it doesn't really make any sense. But like, what if they could pay for space, a small space in the store that does have a great experience, where they do have control over what's going on in the store? Let's do that. And so, yeah, exactly. We figured that in-stores are important. In-stores are really about marketing. So let's do that. So people can try things out in the store. And then what we did, so there's one aspect is that it's a place for people to discover new products, but it's also a way for you to discover customers. So here's a dashboard that you have access, that Maker has access to. So we have cameras in the ceiling, and we track every person that comes to each display. So you can see here how many engaged, like here's engagements in this graph here. We also know their gender and how old they are.
Because of AI.
And it's like Minority Report. It's really Minority Report. It's really here. We could say, hello, Ken, welcome to beta. Creepy. But in a few years, you know, we could do that. So here's like the dashboard again. I'm not sure. Thank you so much for your attention. Thanks for joining the circle. I really found